Welcome to my channel. Once again, Gina Jmacy, psychic parent, coming your way. Happy fall to everyone. And we are in October, believe it or not. It's almost December. The year is almost coming to an end. Can't believe it. But whether we say can't believe it or not, but it's here. So happy fall wherever you find yourself. I'm in the East Coast. So it's fall here. The leaves are turning, seasons changes as it applies to our lives as well. The leaves are falling and winter will come and then spring. The cycles of life. So welcome to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for tuning in. Tuning in into my channel and checking it out where I talk about everything and anything concerning mental health, especially in our communities of color, but and our immigrant communities as well, where we touch on everything concerning mental health, with a special focus maybe a little bit on women and men as well. I won't forget our men, and as well as focusing on trauma, little T trauma, big T trauma, CPTSD. So today, October being Domestic Violence Awareness Month and also Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We say F cancer. So if you're in a struggle of cancer, I'm trying to adjust my butt. I think my my camera is throwing me off. But anyway, forget that. So I such a big advocate on domestic violence. So domestic violence, focusing on the physical aspect, truly is not just that. Sometimes the silence killer or the ones that are detrimental is the one that don't leave scars, because you have emotional um violence, emotional abuse, if you want to call it that. There's financial, there's even spiritual abuse, psychological abuse. So all of these things that can be on the background, sexual abuse, not to forget that part as well. So in many cases, in such situations with families that might have gone through or is going through at domestic violence, or I'm going to acronym it as DV case. Usually there might be a minor or kids involved, right? So how do we, especially as women, majority of domestic violence that happens, the perpetrator majority of the case is the man, and the victim usually is the women and the children, right? And then I want to say it's October, but I have my tree up. If you so noticed, working on it. I'm such a Christmas. It just brings me joy. I love fall, I love winter because of Christmas. The birth of our Lord Jesus. I need me some Jesus. But anyway, going forward. So I wanted to say, the kids become the bigger victim because then the trauma gets carried forward from generation to generation. So how do we break the cycle of domestic violence? So there's a lot of literature that, not literature, so to speak. I think a lot of people have the perception that when the man and the woman, or the husband and the wife stays together for the sake of the children, then it's better. I want to tell you that if you're experiencing a lot of anxiety relating to being traumatized or abused or manipulated or gaslighted, or all the terminologies, being what is it called, silent treatment, going on. Sometimes some people might need silent treatment, might be silent for a little bit just to capture themselves, just so they can know what better response to give to someone or a partner, maybe a few hours or a day or so. So there's some empathy behind that when they reach back out and say, hey, I just wanted to be quiet. Or most of the time, if it's a good, solid relationship, there might be a discussion around that already. Hey, my style of dealing with conflict will be that I might be silent for a few hours. I might take some time to myself just so I can respond in a better way to you. But when somebody's not doing that and they are giving you silent treatment for days, weeks, months, even sometimes in some cases years. But anyway, so silent treatment is also a form of abuse, a form of control, a form of punishment, especially in romantic relationships, husband, wife, whatever partnership that might be going on romantically, a husband and wife, and sometimes it can be, partners, other types of relationships, right? If you're in our LGBTQ communities, so to speak. So I like to be broad in when how I'm presenting my sessions, my topics on my podcast. But the fact is, those things can lead to a lot of anxiety, especially in women, being that when I first introduced it, the literature shows that majority of the cases the victims are the women, right? So we run to court, and sometimes the system, and while you're going through it, you're so desperate because you want to protect your children. I always say this, for me, having go through this process, if it wasn't, maybe I have kids, a lot of times you just like close that relationship easily. But when you have kids involved, it just becomes a little more. And women, we put our hearts in the line. We want to protect us. We don't fight. We don't want to advocate for our kids, and sometimes that can be triggering, even, being there where, you're in the midst of the trying, the grieving of the relationship that's crumbling right in front of your eyes, and you're trying to save it, you're rescue. You go to people trying to help you rescue the relationship, but no rescuing the other partner. It's not willing to do any type of work to keep it going. I'm very open and vulnerable to talk about this just because I know how many women, how many patients of mine, how many family members, how many aunties, how many sisters, how many mothers, how many are currently. If you're checking out this video, most likely you are going through it, or somebody you know is going through a domestic violence or a DV or traumatic relationship, a difficult relationship, or a conflict oriented relationship. So a lot of anxieties that come to we women can lead to a lot of dysregulation because of trauma. And if you already have trauma from childhood or abandonment issues, hello, that dysregulation can lead you into a different personality type that you're not even your baseline. You can be an empath, but somebody pushes you so far and so long and so chronically, like you're seeing a bear in the woods all the time. You're like, fight or flight, fight or flight. Oh, I gotta go. I gotta defend myself. I gotta, whatever you gotta do to make that bear stop chasing you, you gotta do. So your action mode, and that action mode sometimes can make you be perceived so differently, either by your partner or other people who are their, flying monkeys. But hey, accept it and move forward. So my point to that is causing a lot of anxiety, a lot of time in the women. You're tight in your tummy all the time, your chest is tight, you're nauseous in the morning. Those are all signs of anxiety. You're losing your ages. You have breakouts like, rash, fibromyalgia, neck tension, migraine headaches, constipation, unexplained knee pain, hip pain, waist pain, all kinds of pain in your body, feeling tired all the time, bloated, insomnia, obesity, inability to lose weight or keep the weight off, craving sugar. All these things are signs that you might be in a difficult relationship or have some type of trauma that has not been dealt with, and inside your body is causing all the signs of anxiety. Always having a feeling of impending doom, anxiety all the time. You're like, if one more thing gets put on my thing, on my list of things, I'm gonna crack. and kids included. You can't. So as women, you might be irritable, angry a lot. You might be there with your kids, but you're checked out. Like, you're just so overstretched. You're dealing with current no, you're dealing with past trauma, current trauma, and then other things that's trying to pile up on you from home, from work, from the kids, from whatever. I hear you, sis. Trust me, I hear you. I've been there and there, trying to make the money, keep up the bills, and you're the only one because your partner is just trying to manipulate you, punish you, abuse you, whatever it is that's going on. You're not self-aware enough to know the impacts that they're causing you and your children. And so research has found that not partners staying together is not the key to raising happy, healthy, well-rounded humans. So that's not the key. So you can definitely have separate, whether separation or divorce, and your kids can still be thrive and do exceptionally well, because sometimes you stay together. Some people, couples stay together, and by the time the kids get to high school or college, you're like, it's been 20 years or 27, 30 years of marriage, and then they divorce at that point. What's the point? In that time, that trauma has already been carried on forward generationally onto the kids. So the woman, and then many minority of the times, the man, if the man is the one who's in the receiving end of the abuse, because that can also be a thing. There's a lot of a lot of discussion around that. But majority, 90 plus 95, 99% of the times, the woman who's at the receiving end, because once you have kids, it sets you back financially. All kinds of things can cascade over, leading to why many a times the women become the victim. So the woman's happiness, centeredness, in order to prevent anxiety, irritability, anger, detachment, so you can be there with your kids and you're there physically, but you're detached. You're not connected. You're not nurturing. You're not nurturing, which is a natural inclination as women to be nurturing to our kids, to our family. You're not there because you're checked out. You're so much. You're ready to snap. Home, at work, it's just too much. I hear you. So working on your happiness is the key. So what is do you have to do? Does it mean you're staying? If you're staying, should I stay or should I go? If you're staying, then you have to choose to stay well. So you're taking care of yourself first. Put your mask on first, as they say on the airplane. And you're taking care of the kids. So you have to make that choice. Making the decision to leave, a lot of women, is not our first choice, but sometimes you're forced to, because it's better for you and it's better for the kids, for the separation, and it leads to a much better co-parenting relationship. That's after discussion too, depending on who your partner is. If you're a narcissistic partner, it can be a whole 18 years, depending on how old your kids are. So you got to be prepared to have a rough ride. So while you're going through the ride, and it's like, ooh, buckle up, sister girl. You gotta focus on your happiness. That's my key for me. That's my key. That's my key. I've watched mothers, my mother included, sisters, aunties, name it. But your core is your happiness. How do you find that happiness? So your kids find you happy, they get more centered. You raise more well-rounded children, because they see a model what their primary caregiver, and most especially we the women spend more time with the kiddos. Once again, that's just the truth. That's just what the statistics shows. There was a research that I'm carrying out, when I go to appointments with my kids, dental, their physical appointment with pediatrician, wherever, staff meetings, PTO meetings, whatever. Majority of the time, it's the women who are there. So this is not Gina just making it up. Church, majority of the people there, gender, women. So that's what I'm saying. So how do you find that happiness? The burden lines on us women. You can change the man. You can change it. It's like trying to change the weather in the East Coast, in Connecticut, in February. It's negative 30 degrees. You can change that to 80 degrees, like in Florida, and we're like bikini suits and walking around. No, you gotta put on your jacket. You gotta put on your hat. You gotta buckle up. You gotta be ready for a rough ride, for cold winter, and go through it and expect spring and summer to come. So happiness can come from self-care, self-education, whether through podcasts like what you're listening to. If you're listening to me, drop me a comment, a question. Podcast self therapy, 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 therapy. Okay, you cannot change that man. And maybe if the woman can change them. If they're narc, if they're difficult, I mean, their own trauma, a lot of the time, that's what it is. But if they're not self-aware enough to do the work, you have to do the work on yourself. So that's what I'm saying. So therapy, just having a good community support, safe community around you of other women who have had similar experiences who can support you, church community. But therapy is key. Whether you need medication, sleep, mood, anxiety, CBD, whatever you need, EMDR therapy to deal with the trauma, cryotherapy, cold therapy, light therapy, red light therapy, sauna, get all that toxin, exercise, eating healthy, weightlifting, really get all that energy, negative energy out of you so you can be centered, you can be happy. When you're centered, you're happy, you have more dopamine, you have more serotonin, will naturally make you more balanced because you're not always fight or flight mode. Other things to consider, will be hiking, going to nature, connecting, being, hopefulness, meditation. Prayer is a form of meditation. So really breathing and staying with your feeling and working through it, working through staying with it. It's hard, but this is all part of life, doing life. You can escape it. Sometimes you can escape it. It is what it is. You can just accepting it to dealing. There's a few. Ozone therapy is another thing that I've been exploring. I'll keep you posted on ozone therapy. It's a way where they go through your blood and actually take all the toxins out and put in new blood with, ozone, some type of oxygen. I'm redoing my research and finding locations where I'll keep you posted and let you know. But ozone therapy, I even have a coffee enemas. It's also good to get all the toxins out. Cleansing every quarter or so, cleansing your gut. Because you have a healthier gut, you have a healthier brain. Remember the gut and brain connection. So all these things that I mentioned, it's about 10 probably of them that can help you be happy and keep that happiness going. Happiness is a choice. Nobody can make you happy. And these are things like for me, I pass along because I've learned it the hard way. These things that I know right now, besides just prayer and fasting and doing, those things that I just used to do, only those in those years when I was initially married. If I knew some of this community, trauma therapy, just regular therapy, CBT therapy, DBT therapy, and combining that with prayer and fasting, doing cold therapy, ozone therapy, exercising, weightlifting, like really, hiking, connecting with nature, meditate, all this stuff that I'm talking about, like just good diet, green, minimizing carbs and sugars, all these things. If I knew this, maybe I'll be a different person, or maybe my relationship will be different. But that's why I'm passing it along. If you're staying, stay well. If you can't stay, you can tell everybody have their bandwidth, if I'm saying it right, or tolerance level. You can stay. It's Cancer Awareness Month, and many people come, a lot of women come with breast cancer all of a sudden, colon cancer all of a sudden, they are dead from cancer. All that stuff is inflammation from stress, chronic trauma, fight or flight. Prevention of cancer is another reason why I'm doing that. Anyway, get your mammogram. I got my mammogram. I don't have a baseline of history for my family, especially because I'm come from West Africa. So I'm like, hey, breaking generational trauma, I'm gonna get mammogram. I'm not at the age yet, but I convinced my primary care doctor, being paranoid, and I did my mammogram last year, and I just did mine this year. So go get your mammogram. Prevention is always better than cure. So, sometimes when we are like that and we are more, you can't be well and connect with somebody who's not well and not willing to be well. That compatibility would not work. So sometimes some relationship you're forcing to say stay for oh, we've been married for 10 years, 17 years, 18 years, 20 years, but how well is your marriage? Right? So some people stay, they say, oh, we've been together there's so many marriages. I was listening to Jada Pinkett talked today on the news, and they've been together on social media and the news and everything, but come to find out they're separate. There's a lot of couples who are in the house, but they're separate. They're living separate lives. They're like, roommates. And what's the point? And there's so much tension and conflict in the home that affect the kids. Break the generation. Decide to break it. So if you're staying, stay well. If you're not staying, just make the choice and jump out and stay out and do the work on each other and each other together so the kids can see resilience and building that. Build a community that can support you. That's what I have. And I thank God so much for my community of support, of sisters and some brothers too. God, I thank God for that, because you would have been visiting me in the ward. But thank you so much. I just wanted to drive home that every woman needs to hear this. Your happiness is a determinant in making your kids better, minimizing anxiety and breaking generational trauma cycle, CPTSD. Drop me a comment, drop me a question, reach out. If you need connection for therapy, reach out to me. I can always give you resources, numbers. There's help out there. Don't do it alone. If you're going through domestic violence, any of those ones that I mentioned, reach out for help. There is help. You cannot just depend on prayer and fasting alone. You got to take action to break trauma and save yourself. Because sometimes some women even end up dying from being in such relationships. So I'll catch you at the next video, and stay blessed. If you whip it in your mind, like I always say, you can whip it everywhere else in your life, including your relationship and your money mindset as well. Just wanted to throw that out there.